do you see hockey operations groups more open-minded now than they were 2 decades ago when you got hired?
So I hired the analytics director in 2008 for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's still there. I helped Brian McClellan and hired Tim Barnes in Washington. Sonny Mehta has been a revelation. Eric Tulsky in Carolina does a great job. And there's others, but I still think less than half the league is really accessing this low-hanging fruit to improve, their overall product. I really strongly believe that. There's a lot of guys, quite frankly, that I talk to on the GM side and the president side that they either A, don't understand it, or B, don't really believe in it. And I don't think that you should be all analytics. I just look at Florida and I see moves that are made through their analytics department and through some really astute hockey people that I just mentioned, and it could be anything from Sam Bennett to Sam Reinhart to picking up Forsling. That's not all analytics driven. It's a hybrid. It's a great blend of using all the resources available to the club to make the best answers, because ultimately some clubs I find they get bogged down with who's right versus what's right for the club. Who cares who's right? Analytics, scouts, doesn't matter. You just want to get to what's the right answer to drive the club forward. I think Florida's done a beautiful job of that.
Is there one thing that in analytics that jumps out at you that's the most important?
The one thing that I consider a standard now, and I do this myself, it's not super complicated, but you want to create an algorithm so that long before the season starts, Bob, you should have an idea of where your club should finish. You're not going to nail it exactly every year, but you should generally know. This came into play last year with Edmonton when they were horrible, because I'll openly talk about kind of what my list is, at least in sections. And I had the Edmonton Oilers as a top 5 team. Mm-hmm. Everybody was laughing at me. How could that be? You have your algorithm, you ranked them in the top 5. They're one of the worst teams in the club. You can never go by short sample size. That was a very short sample size. Sure. They had unusual problems. I've seen it before in the past. You have to create an algorithm that you believe firmly in, and there's a million ways to do it. The 3 of us could all do it 100 times, and we'd never come up with the same formulas. But I find that still the majority of the teams are not doing that. The really good teams, they're doing that, and they're also building an engine in terms of how to digest all this new puck and player tracking information. It doesn't matter what you can measure. It only matters if you can figure out what's meaningful. And John, do you care if John Tavares jumps over the boards with his left leg first 75% of the time? Of course not. So you got to get down to what matters, what you think drives the game. Every GM sees it differently. It's a combination, in my opinion, of people's opinions that really tighten that up and develop a great product.
So you bring up a really good point, because I've always thought that the issue with analytics is context. And the other aspect is trusting the interpretation of the inputted data. Right. What you view as a scoring chance, Bob may think wasn't a scoring chance. What you view as a face-off win, Bob views as a face-off loss. How do they standardize analytics, or is there an importance to standardizing analytics so that you can trust the numbers better?
No, you don't want to standardize it. Not as somebody that wants to be competing in it. You want everybody to use their expertise. It's arbitrary. Right. It's like you said, what's a face-off win? Hey, the center won it back behind him 2 feet, and then somebody swooped in and grabbed it on the defensive team. So you didn't get it. Is that a win or a loss? You have to go through every one of these categories, come up with some rules that you believe in work for you, knowing fully that it could go either way. It's not easy. As a matter of fact, it's hard. But that is why a lot of people won't do it, because they go, we could never settle that. Let's just move on and do something else. We'll go with the eye test. Doesn't work as well as people think. The eye test is great. It's been proven to be great when you really back test what scouts do, particularly in amateur players.